President Joe Biden signed Congress's stopgap funding bill this afternoon. That is now going to avoid a partial shutdown of the government that was supposed to take place this week. But now the next deadline is coming fast, only 1 week from this evening. So was a government shutdown really avoided, or was it just delayed? And what can we expect as negotiations go on from here? Well, joining me now to discuss all of this is Congressman Andy Harris. He serves on the House Appropriations Committee. He's a member also of the GOP Doctors Caucus and the co-chair of the House Pro-Life Caucus. He represents the 1st Congressional District of Maryland. Dr. Harris, always great to have you. Welcome back to Washington Watch.
Good to be with you, Jody.
All right, so we've got another short-term CR. It's passed, and more negotiations are underway. You are a key leader in the Appropriations Committee, so I'm sure you've been involved and you've been watching this every step of the way. What do you expect next?
Well, we're putting the final touches on, I think it's going to be 6 of the 12 appropriations bills, the 6 that come due next Friday. We're putting the final touches on it now. I think that over the weekend they'll be published, and I think next week we'll pass that package of 6 bills through the House. The spending levels are still way too high, but again, you know, our majority is very narrow in the House, and we don't have the support of a lot of senators of our Republican senators over in the Senate. So the spending is just going to go on until we change things in this November's election.
Well, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of buzz about a full-year CR, continuing resolution that would last for the rest of the year, and involved in that is an already negotiated spending reduction of 1%. Is there any chance of that actually happening, or is that just a bunch of talk?
Well, I think the chance is minimal, at least for the first 6 bills, because I think there is going to be agreement on those 6 bills. Of course, they left the more difficult 6 appropriations bills for the deadline of March 22nd. Whether some of them can't be negotiated or not, we'll have to see, and whether some of them have to be done with continuing resolution. But the whole government having continuing resolution is not going to be necessary. Again, we'll pass 6 of those bills. I'm pretty confident 6 of those bills next week before the March 8th deadline.
Okay, so we have the 6 bills coming up a week from today, and you're anticipating those will pass. All right, so what about the others that are coming 2 weeks after that or whatever? Any possibility of a year-long CR with those? What do you anticipate really taking place with that? That's where the battle is going to be, isn't it? I mean, that's where the real issues involved.
That's absolutely right, Jody. The fact of the matter is one of the most contentious bills, which is the Health and Human Services bill, which the Democrats have tried to jam-pack with their liberal social agenda. That's going to be very difficult. But I think the odds are that we will get even those 6 bills passed by that March 22nd deadline. But again, it's not a done deal. The first 6, though, I think I'm pretty confident we're gonna do the first 6. Second 6, we'll have to see.
Okay. Well, we'll be watching all of this as well. Congressman Harris, I tell you, it's just phenomenal what you guys are having to deal with, and no doubt the slim majority makes it so difficult to deal with. But Speaker Johnson, if I can shift gears with you, he used this week's Oval Office meeting as another opportunity to highlight the crisis that's taking place at the border. Of course, both Biden and Trump were at the southern border yesterday. We're going to be dealing with that a little bit later. But do you think the Biden administration is ever going to get the message that the border has to be addressed?
So here's the problem that Joe Biden has. The problem is that the extreme left wing of his party wants an open southern border. They don't want him to do anything. It's the same thing that's happening with the approach to Israel and the Gaza war. The extreme left wing of the Democrat Party is, for instance, supporting the Palestinians there. So the president is not going to be able to take a firm stand on Israel. He's not going to be able to take a firm stand on the border. He talks a lot about doing things at the border, but in the end, he's not going to do anything because he's just too beholden to those who want an open southern border.
Well, that's frightening to hear, and that's that's the kind of thing, quite frankly, that people get so disgusted with politics when politics enters into that which is in the best interest of our country, and instead of paying attention and addressing national issues, politics gets in the way. That's what aggravates people so much, and part of that, as it relates to the border, is the enormous crime wave that we are seeing all across the country. Frankly, it appears to me that the administration is taking a lot of heat and being held accountable by grassroots people all across the country for this crime wave. What are you hearing right now as it relates to the crime wave and the Biden administration's border policy?
I think those two are directly connected. I think people were afraid of a crime wave even before the open border policy exploded. But right now, look, the good thing is that in our American system, we get to change presidents every 4 years if we think we need it. And I think just like we saw with Jimmy Carter back in 1980, we're going to see the same thing with Joe Biden in 2024. The American people are fed up with this. They can't tolerate this. Joe Biden will not close the southern border. They know President Trump will, and they will go to the polls and they will elect President Trump once again to control the southern border.
So let me put that issue, because I totally agree with you. The American people are fed up with this, and we hear it constantly. I hear it constantly. I'm sure you do as well. But let's take that argument back to right now the Republican Party. Does the Republican conference have the will to stand up and demand that the southern border be addressed, even in this funding battle? Will there be a line drawn in the sand that says if we're going to fund these last 6 specific bills, that we're going to have border security involved?
There are some people in the party, in the Republican Party, in the House who want to do that. The problem is, as soon as you attach something like that to the bill, you lose all the Democrat votes on the bill. And it is going to take some Democrat votes to pass these measures because our majority is just way too slim. But the other opportunity is going to be on the funding bill for Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel. I think eventually the House is going to deal with that, and that's an opportunity to at least try to get Remain in Mexico put in. I think even if we put it in the law, President Biden is not going to be able to enforce it because he won't be willing to put his foot down with the Mexican government to stop people crossing into this country and to remain in Mexico until they have their asylum hearing. So we will probably attempt to do that, but the president will once again show he is worthless on the southern border. President Trump could remain in Mexico because he was willing to get tough with the Mexican government. Joe Biden's just not willing to get tough enough.
Okay, so there are 2 opportunities to address the southern border that really gives you some leverage. One on the government shutdown, potentially. But if that doesn't work, then you've got the Ukraine funding, Israel funding bill. Very interesting. Congressman Dr. Andy Harris, always great to have you on Washington Watch. Thanks for your leadership, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Jody.